Hi, everybody. John Adams here to bring you a coronavirus message. No, I'm not wearing a mask today. No, I don't have gloves on. But this video has been certified by CDC right over here at Emory. There's no coronavirus in this video, so you can watch it as many times as you'd like with no fear of getting the coronavirus. So let's forge ahead. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Adams, and I'm here because I want you to be all you can be. My job is to help you get more prospects, convert more prospects into sales, and get more commission dollars. That's my job, and I want to see it happen. And from time to time, I'll be sending you coaching videos just like this one. So let's take a look at what's on our minds today. And it is the coronavirus pandemic. And I mean, talk about the news cycle and 24/7. I've never seen anything quite like this. And I'm not sure anyone else has either. And we've got these cool graphics. I mean, look at these guys here. Look, isn't that cool? I mean, with all that stuff. Anyway, what are we going to, I mean, it's like an around the clock warning, you know, and the question you've got to ask is this: are we all going to die? And the answer is yes, we are all going to die, but it's not going to be because of the coronavirus. I honestly think this whole thing is getting blown way out of proportion. And the problem is we're all sitting around watching the exact same news broadcasts over and over and over. And it's just, unfortunately, seeping into our psyche and becoming who we are. Everybody's worried about it. So, yes, we are all, you know, nobody gets out of this world alive. But I believe that the current pandemic is very temporary. Now, I don't know how bad it's going to be. I do believe we are flattening the curve, as we hear people talk about all the time, which means try to blunt the growth of this particular pandemic. And it's through things like washing our hands and social distancing and not going to places where the virus is likely to spread. And I certainly understand that, and I'm in full agreement with it. But everything I'm reading seems to say that the time frame for this is about 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm not sure our clock has started ticking yet, because we seem to be I don't know that much about it, but 2 months seems to be the time frame. It turns out that Wuhan, China, that was where they first ran into this, is returning to normal now. In fact, the President Xi of China has actually visited Wuhan, China himself. So clearly it's not as dangerous as it once was. South Korea, we're seeing right now that their cases are down sharply. Now, they have a different society than we do, and that's true. And I'm not saying that we're going to be like South Korea. However, I do think that South Korea was very proactive, and I see signs that we're being proactive as well. So I certainly am optimistic about this. And it seems like quick and easy testing seem to be the key. And it looks to me like quick and easy testing is on the way. So again, that's my non-medical opinion there. So what happened last week? Well, what happened was bad economic news hit. There is a prospect that was floated out there that we're going to be closing down all the shops, all the stores. Nobody can go to their jobs. And we're going to be plunged into an economic disaster that we'll never recover from. I mean, this is going to be the end. And when that bad economic news hit, A lot of people who invested in the stock market pulled out and went into bonds. Why would they do that? That's called a flight to safety. And it's because they think the stock market may go into a panic mode and that we'll see a lot of selling. They want to get out quick, but they can't figure out what to do with their money. They don't want to put their money in a jar and bury it in the backyard. They don't want to put it in the bank because they think the banks might fail. So what they do is they put it in what they perceive to be a super safe environment, and that is United States Treasury bonds. Now, we've all heard that the 10-year Treasury bond, which is guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, tends to track, or I'm sorry, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage tends to track the 10-year government bond. And yes, there is a relationship, but I'm not sure we can say that they're siblings. I think it's more like they're distant cousins that do communicate from time to time. And yes, there does seem to be a relationship, but it's not a real one-on-one kind of thing, okay? So when bond prices, everybody was moving their money into bond. Bond prices went up. That meant interest rates went down. And all of a sudden, for a little while, a week ago, fixed rate mortgages, 30-year fixed rate mortgages were right around 3%. Well, what does that mean? Well, the lowest they've ever been was 3.31, at least since they've been recording them, and that was in 2012. And that was a very different situation than where we are today. So let's see what's happening now. Well, after that happened, there was a huge number of people who decided that they would refinance. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that's sort of to be expected. But the reality is lenders were not up to the number of loans that came in the door. Applications were up 50% in 2 days, and a lender cannot immediately add that kind of capacity. You hire the people that you need and keep them on that you think you're going to be able to keep busy. And you don't want people sitting around doing nothing. So all of a sudden, here came this huge volume of business, and the lenders were swamped. They had no more capacity, and so they raised rates. This is when we saw rates spike. And I think what we should be watching for now, and this is just my opinion, is the mortgage pipeline. Mortgage lenders have a pipeline about 4 weeks out. When the business is good, and it's very, very good right now, lenders take about 4 weeks to close a loan, to get it processed and get it approved and get the appraisal in and everything else. And as a result, this is sort of like the proverbial boa constrictor that swallowed an ox. And you've got this gigantic lump in the pipeline where all these applications came in, and that lump has to sort of move through the pipeline, and it's going to take about 4 weeks. But when it does, I'm predicting that the lenders are going to wake up in about 4 weeks and say, wait a minute, we don't have any business. This will be the end of it. And some of them are going to lower interest rates to attract more business. I may be wrong. I've been wrong before. My crystal ball is cloudy. So let's see what happens here. But watch the pipeline about 30 days from now. I think it'll be real interesting to see what happens. So here we go. Where are we? Well, I'm recording this today on March 20th. And here was the Freddie Mac weekly survey data for 2020. And these come out about once a week. And so it'll be interesting to see what's up on March 26th. But right now, 30-year fixed rate mortgages, most recent survey at Freddie Mac, 3.65%. That's higher than most people expected based on the fact that the Federal Reserve lowered the federal funds rate essentially to zero. 30-year mortgages, 15-year 3.06. That makes sense. There's typically a 50 basis point bonus that you get for going 15 instead of 30. It's considered a less risky loan. And then 3.11 on a 5-year ARM. I don't know why anybody would select that now. Doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm sure some people are. In my opinion, Freddie Mac is always your best gauge of nationwide home loan rates. 98% of the loans originated in this country are sold through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and Freddie Mac does a better job of gauging nationwide rates, in my opinion. So here's the address if you want to jot it down, you can have that. Let's move on. So what can you tell your buyers right now? Well, here are some ideas that I've had that I think are true, and I think this makes perfect sense. And we can expect to see going forward during this epidemic or pandemic or whatever it is, a natural reluctance on people's part to buy houses. I think there are 4 reasons to buy a house right now, and I want to explore every one of them with you. So let's take them one at a time. The first is rates are low right now. You know, you have to pay to live somewhere. So you might as well lock in at historically low rates and ensure that your housing payment never goes up. So what are we looking at? 3.65? Well, the lowest it's ever been was 3.31, and I think it's foolhardy to think that we're going to see that rate again. If I were in the market right now, I would select a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at whatever rate I could get today. I'd jump on it with both feet and be very happy with it for many, many years to come. In my opinion, there's not enough of a differential on the 15 to make it worthwhile. I'd love to lock in as much as I can. If I could get a 100-year fixed rate mortgage, I would take one right now. So, and that's just me, and that's just me. So, but you got to live somewhere, and you might as well lock in at today's rates. I would tell my buyers it is foolhardy to wait and see if interest rates come down. As interest rates approach zero, I guess this is a better analogy. As the rate approaches zero, there's what we call interest rate compression. And that means there's not much farther than it can go. I mean, some people have to make a profit in there somewhere. And I think that compression is kicking in right now. So 3.65, I would jump all over that. And you can tell your buyers that you think exactly the same thing. Second reason buyers should buy right now is to build equity. Even if you keep the home for 30 years and sell it for exactly what you bought it for today, you still pocket the proceeds from the sale and very probably tax-free. And that is all taxes. What are we talking about? We're talking about the exclusion of gain on the sale of your principal residence. Yes, you have to have owned and occupied the house for any, 2 of the 5 years immediately preceding the date of sale, and they do not have to be continuous. So it's any 2. You can live there a year, rent it for 3 years, and then move back in and live there a year and then sell it. And you can exclude up to $250,000 of gain per owner-occupant. So if you have a husband and wife, that's $500,000, and that's exclusion of gain. If you paid $500,000 for it, that means you could sell it for $1 million because you paid $500,000. Your gain is $500,000, and I'm not going to get into calculating gain today, but that's true profit if that were there. Now, if you sold it for exactly the same thing, you'd have no gain, and that also would be totally free, okay, from taxes at any level. All right, so let's forge ahead. The third reason that somebody should buy a house today, and this is arguably, I think, the most important, reason is that starting on the very first day of owning your home, you begin to realize the tax benefits of the mortgage interest deduction. Now, recently, Congress scalped the real estate industry a little bit and made it a little less attractive for people to itemize, and that's okay. But, excuse me, the reality is home ownership is still one of the most cherished tax deductions available in America today. And there are just a wide variety of tax benefits. And the mortgage interest deduction is simply one of those. So I certainly would bring that up. And remember that when you have a closing, even if it's mid-month, there is an interest proration between the date of closing and the beginning of the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Interest is charged in arrears except at a closing table. So at the closing table, they're getting interest payments between the day of closing and the end of the month, and that's going to be tax deductible. And you should emphasize that to your buyers. And then the final reason that I would encourage someone to consider buying a house today is what many people call the wealth effect of home ownership. Sustainable. You remember we had a lot of people buy houses between the year 2000 and 2009 or 2010 when the recession really kicked in. And a lot of those people were not sustainable homeowners. They hadn't qualified for the mortgage that they had. They hadn't been educated, didn't understand what their obligations were. And in my opinion, they were pushed into buying a home and into taking a loan that really was not appropriate for them financially. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been allowed to. I'm just saying that the mortgage industry and the real estate industry have an obligation to educate and inform consumers as to exactly what they're getting into, and we didn't do that. As a result, a lot of the people who owned homes at that time were not sustainable homeowners, meaning they were in over their heads even though they may not have known it at that point. And I want to talk now about sustainable home ownership, and that's somebody who buys a house and has their eyes open. They know exactly what they're getting into, and they know exactly what their obligations are going to be. They've been looked at closely by a lender or an underwriter, and that person has met the standards of a sustainable homeowner. There's a very good likelihood that this person will be able to make the payments on time in the future. And the reality is that over the years, sustainable home ownership has provided for wealth accumulation for most owners. Owning a home has been one of the best investments most Americans ever make. Listen to this. According to a study by the Federal Reserve, a typical homeowner's net worth was, and this was a couple of years ago, but it was $195,400, while the typical renter's net worth was $5,400. If that doesn't tell you something, then you're missing the boat here. That is a factor of about 40 to 1 in favor of homeowners. And I think that extrapolates to pretty much most levels. You know, there's the old saying, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. But I would just point that out to people that wealth creation tends to be an effect of home ownership. Those are our 4 reasons that we should talk to buyers about. Now, what do I tell, or what do you tell people who may be thinking about selling, or people that you already have listed right now? Well, I think for prospective sellers, we need to be realistic. Most of our sellers, most of those thinking about selling right now, don't want buyers coming into their homes, and I don't blame them. You've got people coming in at all hours, and who knows who's bringing in who, and how do we keep social distancing, and who's touching what. Or they just don't want to list until the fear of this pandemic has passed, and I can certainly understand that. So why list now? Well, there are a couple of reasons. The first is interest rates are still low, and inventory is still low. And there are still people looking for homes to buy today. You know, one of the benefits we have here in Georgia is that a substantial percentage of our buying population is being transferred into the Georgia marketplace. We are a net job gaining state. And when somebody moves here or is transferred by Coca-Cola or Caterpillar or whoever it is, and they come to Atlanta or Savannah or Columbus or wherever they come, they've got to have a place to live. And people who've owned a home before are used to owning a home, and they probably want to own a home again, especially if they have a family. So the market has not dried up for people who are looking for homes right now. Yes, there are things we need to do as real estate professionals to attract those people, but that's tell the sellers that yes, there are still buyers out there. So I recommend that sellers take advantage of this even further limited inventory and list their homes right now. It simply makes sense to me. Why should they list with you? Well, this may be off the beaten track a little bit. I know a number of you have taken my class called Video Made Easy, and I am a big believer in using video as a way of communicating with buyers, with sellers, with everybody in the real estate transaction. It's a great way to stay in touch with people without having to go visit them. And I would say to a seller, look, I am a video specialist, and by the authority vested in me by the Georgia Institute of Video, which I just created, I hereby, the fact that you're watching this now, you are a certified video specialist, okay? I'm casting that on you right now. You can put CVS after your name, and if anybody asks, just say, yeah, I went to the Institute for Video Technology under Dr. Adams. That's fine. So as a video specialist, you are able to do a couple of things that most real estate professionals can't. You can market the home with no personal showings. And the way to do that is a 3D video walkthrough. And you can either get one of those fancy Matterport cameras and learn how that thing works, or you can just do a straight video walkthrough. It doesn't have to be 3D. You can just carry a camera or a cell phone or even a webcam through the house, looking at each individual room and later narrating over that video so people get a real good idea of exactly what the house looks like. And there's no reason that you can't do that. Again, I'd love for you to go out and buy a Matterport camera and start doing the 3D thing, but that's something I haven't gotten to yet, and I just don't think is necessary. If you want to pay for a 3D, you knock yourself out. If you've got a high enough price listing, you can do that. In addition, as a video specialist, you know how to communicate powerfully and effectively with all prospective buyers in today's digital marketplace. Remind people that as much as 75% of today's internet traffic is video, and the largest single segment of today's buying population is millennials. And these people are really focused on video. And this is how they live their lives. And you're supplying what they want, which I honestly believe that is the case. So there are some other reasons as well. Let's move to the next one. I think you then need to say, hey, I want you to also know I am a digital specialist, unlike most real estate agents. I specialize in digital marketing. And as a result, I'm able to use online lead generation to attract prospective buyers on Facebook, Google, and other social media. Now, you don't need to get into all the social media because Facebook and Google are the two biggest ones by far. And if you've taken my Video Made Easy course, you know exactly how to dominate those. And if you haven't, you need to. So we'll talk about that another time. But the second thing you can do is you can obtain and verify buyer loan application information using internet-based loan sources. Plenty of mortgage companies are now doing online applications where they will share with you, the agent, access to every phase of the loan application so you can see it check off. And a number of major brokerages now are offering in-house online mortgage applications. Remember, we've got to be careful about those and disclose any connection that we might have, but I'm just telling you they're out there, and that's a plus to your seller as far as you're concerned. And then finally, almost all of us now have access to be able to create and execute paperless binding contracts using electronic digital signatures, things like DocuSign, and their whole platforms. My company uses SkySlope. I know there are a number of them out there. And we're beginning to see lenders and attorneys specialize in those platforms and offer paperless closings. Georgia's a little behind the curve there because we don't have online notaries yet, but I think we will within 12 months. And when that happens, we can have a completely paperless closing. In the meantime, the closing attorney can assist you with notarizing. So anyway, that's the good news, what you tell people who are thinking about listing with you. Now, what can you tell yourself? And this may be as important as anything else we've talked about today. What if we have a recession? Oh my goodness, what will I do? Oh, even if we have a recession, which we may or we may not, and even if that recession causes home prices to decline, which isn't likely, other than the 2008 recession, which was an anomaly, and we talked about underlying causes for that, the average recession has seen prices go up, and typically the real estate market leads the economy out of a recession. Recessions do happen in normal economic cycles, and you need to understand that. You need to be able to tell your buyers and sellers you understand that you can't have a normal economy if you never have a recession, and that they average, if we throw out, again, the 2008 recession, which was an anomaly, then the average recession in the past 100 years has been 10.4 months. How about that? It's not the end of the world. Furthermore, here's the difference between 2008 and today. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. We have almost no unqualified borrowers in the market today. When are loans most at risk of default? It's in the first year of ownership. We've seen default rates decline dramatically since 2012 because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have instituted underwriting guidelines that frankly are quite strict, and they have not loosened those up significantly, although there was some talk that they would. It hasn't happened yet. So what that means is we've got a lot of qualified homeowners out there who were qualified borrowers at the time they bought their homes, okay? So it's unlikely that that's going to be a problem. We're not going to see the same level of foreclosures. Also, if you remember 2008, 2010, 2012, Atlanta in particular was a hotbed of mortgage fraud. There was a tremendous amount of mortgage fraud where people would buy real estate at hugely inflated prices, pay off a crooked appraiser to get it appraised, and then pay off a crooked loan underwriter to get the loan approved, pull cash out, and then disappear. And that type of mortgage fraud, thank goodness the FBI has nipped that in the bud. And we're just not seeing, if there's any going on out there, I'm not aware of it. It certainly is nothing compared to what it was in 2008. And we also had at that time, and I experienced this myself, lenders in 2008 didn't know how to cope with somebody who called up and said, I'm behind on my payments, but I want to get caught up. I want to keep this property that I live in. How can I stay here? Because they were under the experience of having, for many, many years, just said either pay up or get out. And we're not going to help you. We don't have to help you because it'll sell at auction, the loan will be paid off, and we'll be made whole. Well, that didn't work very well, did it? No, it didn't. And now there are all these programs in place, the HARP program and the HEMP program and the HALT program, and I don't know what these things are, but there's a lot of different programs to help people with loss mediation, I think is or mitigation, loss mitigation, that's what it's called, at these lenders, and they will try to work with people for the first time ever. Thank goodness. What a surprise. A lender who's willing to work with a borrower to get money in for the borrower. So I call those were stupid loan servicers, and pretty much all of them, at least at the major lender servicing level, have been replaced. So here's the quote for the day, and this is from Lawrence Yun, who is chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. In my personal opinion, he is a brilliant economist, and he said this just a couple of days ago. During the last recession, real estate was on wobbly ground with loose lending and too much supply. Excuse me. Today, there is no subprime lending. You remember subprime lending? That's where you didn't have to document anything. Oh yeah, I got a job, sure. Okay, no problem, you're approved. Today, there is no subprime lending and too little supply. And the real estate market will hold on much better. And you need to be aware of that every day. If I were you, I'd print this slide and put it up on the bathroom mirror because you need to have a positive attitude every day as you go to work in the great real estate business. We're going to have a great year in the next 12 months because when we come out of this thing, the recovery is just going to be dynamite, and you need to be set up to take advantage of it. Do you honestly believe that this virus is going to turn into an economic disaster from which mankind may never recover? Do you think this is the end of the world? Because I know the media is acting like it is. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. It's not. Guess what? We made it through 1918. They said something like 50 million people died in 1918. Well, here it is 102 years later, and things are a little better in 2020 than they were in 1918 when we had the Spanish flu epidemic and 50 million people worldwide died. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to beat this thing, and I think the United States economy is going to rebound and rebound sharply, and we're going to go right back to work, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So let's wrap this thing up. What can you do right now? Okay, I want you to begin using video every day. Again, if you've not taken my class called Video Made Easy, you need to take that class. I'm going to be offering it for a small fee. It's going to be an online class. You can take it at your own speed. I don't know, I guess it'll be 69 bucks or something like that. And I will give you a certificate that says certified video specialist. So you can start putting CVS. I may even have lapel pins. You know, if you get a gold lapel pin that says something, people think, wow, you're really good. So anyway, I would encourage you right now to go to screencastomatic.com. And that is an online platform that will allow you to record using a webcam. It will allow you to edit video that perhaps you take on your cell phone, or if you have a digital camera, you can upload that to Screencast-O-Matic and do a lot of really neat things with it. It is free, and it is very, very easy to use, and I would recommend it to you. I know you think YouTube has a video editor. Its video editor is nothing. It's hard to use, and it doesn't work well. Screencast-O-Matic.com is easy, it's free, and it works great. I would encourage you to sign up for a 14-day free trial at bomb.com, BOMB.com. It is the Rolls Royce of video email, and you can get your 14-day free trial by going to my website, money99.com, clicking on resources, and go down to, it'll either say video, email, or bomb. I'm not sure what it says, but it's either video, email, or bomb. And you get a free 14-day trial. I would try that first. And at the end of 14 days, it's 30 bucks a month or something like that. If you are sure you don't want to pay, try loom.com, although loom.com is more of the Volkswagen Beetle, or the I don't know what you'd say, the go-kart of video email. It usually works, but it's just not the same. Number 3, I would encourage you now to use video email to reach out to everybody you have ever sold a house to, or anybody whose home you have sold. This is a great way for you to contact people now without giving them the coronavirus. Everybody is living on their email right now, and you differentiate yourself from every other real estate agent by sending videos. That's just a fact. Nobody's doing it, and you should be doing it. So much for that. I want you to begin posting short, relevant videos. Short, I mean under 3 minutes. Relevant, meaning they all have to do with real estate. Tips for home buyers, tips for home sellers, tips for people in your farm neighborhood, and start posting those on YouTube. And you'll learn why during the Video Made Easy seminar. And then go back to Screencast-O-Matic, which is free, and learn how to begin shooting what I call narrated PowerPoint videos. We all know how to, you're watching a PowerPoint right now. In fact, I'm using Google Slides, but they're all identical. And you can run a PowerPoint slideshow just like I am and narrate it. You can have your picture on it if you want, which I decided to do, or you can not have your picture on it if you want, which would be fine. I know who you are, and I know you're scared to death to have your picture on because you don't like the way you look. We'll talk about that another time. But one other thing you should know about, there is a platform called Zoom.us, and for meetings that are less than 40 minutes, you can have free Zoom meetings, I think, for up to 50 participants at Zoom.us. Yes, you have to sign up. No, there's not a charge. And you need to learn how to use Zoom. So you can call somebody and say, hey, why don't we hop on a Zoom call real quick and let me show you a few houses I picked out for you. You give them a code, they go to Zoom.us, or you send them a link and they click that, and all of a sudden they're popped up and they're looking at your screen, and you just take them on virtual tours through these houses. I mean, this is a great, great tool, and it's free as long as you're not going to be on with them for more than 40 minutes. And if you are going to be on with them for 40 minutes, then it's worth it to go ahead and subscribe to Zoom, which we'll cross that bridge when you get to it. But in the meantime, start using it. And if you're not using it, you won't be comfortable when the time comes. So here's some great books that I would encourage you to read. And I'm going to give you these slides so you can go back and look at them. But Permission Marketing is a great book. The 12-Week Year, very interesting on shortening the timeline for our goals to a 3-month period. How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the most important books I have ever read. Dale Carnegie, a classic. And that's free online. How to Win Friends and Influence People. The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. Fabulous book. I think that's also free online. Epic Content Marketing. And this is by Robert Cialdini. Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. This is perhaps the most difficult read here, but it is an eye-opener because he goes into the factors that people use to make decisions. And it's a peek behind the curtain of people's brains, which is sort of scary, but this is a great book, and I would strongly recommend it to you. So you got time, start reading some books. And another thing you might want to do right now, start a monthly farm video program. Choose a farm territory. I don't care if you live there or not. Use tax records to populate a spreadsheet of addresses and who the owner of record is of that property. Start looking up those individuals with their address on Google. See if you can't find an email address. I use my virtual assistant to do that work so I don't have to. Then create your own YouTube channel. Create a neighborhood real estate report that comes out once a month or once every couple of months. Again, that can be a narrated PowerPoint. And then email it out once a month. Anybody whose email you can't get, print the CMA and take it to them and leave it on their doorstep or stick it in their mailbox, along with a note that says, we email our updates about once a quarter or however often you do it. And if they'd like, they can get it by email. Trust me, they'll sign up. So what should you do now? Well, we've been talking for about 43 minutes. What you need to do is get to work and stop watching Fox News and CNN because it's poisoning your brain. Here's some things you should do immediately. Number one, commit to daily video emails. I think you should start and say, I'm going to do 10 a day until I get used to it. And BombBomb has a great training academy. It is totally free, and it's a great place for you to sign up. Again, go to money99.com, click on resources, and go to BombBomb or video emails. Sign up for my newsletter at money99.com. I'm John Adams, and I put out a lot of good educational stuff that I know you're going to like. I would encourage you to buy my class on property tax reduction. Guess what? We're coming up on April the 1st, which means pretty soon people are going to start getting their property valuation notices. Okay? And when that happens, it's time to appeal. But most people won't appeal because they don't know how to do it. So if you buy my class, you become a certified property valuation analyst, and that's another 4 letters you can put after your name. And you'll know everything about property tax appeals, at least in the state of Georgia, and you can offer to help people lower their property tax as a way of establishing a relationship with them. So that's pretty much what we have to talk about today. I would simply remind you that there's so many things that we need to be worried about in this world, and having to die from the coronavirus is not one of them. This too shall pass. Godspeed, God bless, and I'll see you on the radio. Bye now.